Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Manny B Investing MBI. Make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. We're going to take a look at a Paribus blog post called Seeking a Safe Haven. This was posted April 4th, 2023. And we're going to look at the metrics here. A little under 4,000 views, 57 retweets, 3 quotes, 152 likes. Let's take a look at the quote tweets. See what the sentiment is. Mostly positive. All positive. People talking. Looking good. Looks good. Positive stuff here. Let's take a look at the article. I'm going to go ahead and assume that we're going to be talking about, kind of following up on the previous blog post, talking about the banks or how the pump to Bitcoin happened with people looking to move in hedging and moving over to Bitcoin. But let's see. In recent weeks, there have been systemic failures in the global financial systems, particularly in the banking sector, causing people to question the legitimacy of information provided by regulators. Despite repeated assurances of robustness and security, people continue to withdraw their money from banks and invest in assets they could hold. Many of our community are familiar with the idea of not your keys, not your crypto. After the failure of several protocols and investment funds, just as these failures caused people to withdraw their crypto from exchanges and opt for self-custody, a similar situation is happening with the current banking crisis. Although no major banks have catastrophically failed in the past 2 weeks, the aftershocks of the recent collapses are still affecting the markets. It is widely known that more banks will fail, and that central banks' determination to continue with monetary tightening makes this even more likely. Makes me wonder if this is done on purpose. The central bank's challenge is that they claim to tighten policy, but they are also printing vast amounts of cash to backstop every troubled bank to reassure the markets. They are taking liquidity away with one hand and giving it back with another, or with the other, but they're giving it to people that are degens, big CEOs that are failing and have failed in the past. That's my problem. Like this guy. The failure of regulators, banks, and politicians to realize that 20th century approaches are outdated and the digital age is becoming evident. While they demonize crypto as a threat to financial markets, go figure, they have not accounted for the sudden movement of liquidity from banks through digital rails. News spreads at a lightning pace through social media platforms, creating contagion. Combined with the speed of the mobile banking, this creates a recipe for disaster when banks have reinvested depositor funds in underperforming assets. To support regulated banks, central banks have given them credit lifelines to borrow funds based on assets they hold without having to liquidate them. I wish the regular people could get that. While this resolves the short-term liquidity issue, it merely postpones the losses. As long as interest rates remain high, government bonds held by banks remain unrealized losses. Investors are continuing to withdraw their funds from banks until there are clear signs of rate reduction or a guarantee from governments to protect their deposits in full. And you don't have to pray to Janet Yellen that they'll back up your funds like they had to do with some of these American bank failures. Therefore, central banks will be forced to consider reducing interest rates much sooner than they want to, or print the money needed to bail the banks out one by one as they continue to fail. The present situation is clearly unsustainable and there are no easy solutions in sight. And speaking of that, there was an article today where they were talking about possibly continuing to raise rates. So I guess they were only left with the second option, which is to continue to print money and bail out these banks one by one. That is going to be something to see. Maybe the United States government will be able to create another government agency out of this, an agency that is that's jurisdiction is to just monitor banks specifically and bail them out whenever they make bad decisions, which is all the time. Because the current banking system. The current banking crisis is due to banks reinvesting depositor money to earn yield, making them over leveraged to some extent. Whatever solution is implemented, banks will remain over leveraged. We have witnessed similar failures in crypto in the past 12 to 18 months, which is why the regulators' aggressive approach towards the industry seems so unreasonable. So everything that they're saying crypto is, the traditional banking system is. So DeFi is evil, but CeFi is way worse. Decentralized finance, or DeFi, provides a solution with over-collateralization. They don't want to do that. For instance, in our mainnet V1, when users deposit crypto into a liquidity pool, they earn yield on their deposit. When someone wants to borrow from the protocol, they have to deposit crypto as collateral and can only borrow a proportion of the amount they deposited. Both parties' assets are locked into smart contracts that protect the collateral at every step of the process. It cannot be reused by the protocol to earn additional yield, and the protocol cannot create assets from thin air as banks do. Over-collateralization is the key to making DeFi a safe haven for assets, but they don't want to do that. So the whole thing with decentralization is we set up parameters, we set up rules, everyone agrees to those rules, and those are the rules that everyone has to play by that uses the platform. What the government wants to do is they want to set up this system and they want to set these rules, but then they want to have a back door where certain groups of their friends and family and people that donate to them get to play by a separate set of rules and use all of the money that belongs to the people that are on the original rule set. Now, if all cards are faced up and everyone can see everything, that system won't play well because the people that are on this first set of rules will look and see, hey, there's different rules for these groups of people and they're using our funds to make bad decisions. I don't want to participate. So then they just don't participate. So now we're dealing with, people not wanting to be in banks anymore and they're pulling their money out and they're moving on to other things, and that's breaking stuff. So that's, a big part of what's happening right now. And that is the big difference between CeFi and DeFi. There isn't a Janet Yellen or a Jerome Powell that can change the rules for just a small group of people and start printing and minting assets out of nowhere. That's why crypto is the future. That's why DeFi is so cool. And that's why governments hate it, especially the United States government. So what do you think of this article? Thought it was pretty cool. Hit that like, hit the share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.